All right, here we go. It's episode 10 of the Find Me in Seattle podcast, and yeah, I'm a little speechless. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get through the show, so bear with me on this one. So it's Sunday, January 26th, and usually I record this show on Fridays, and it's been a crazy week for me. There's been a lot going on here on my personal life and here in the city, which has just made it a little wild to talk about. And so the reason I didn't do the show on Friday was kind of a mixed bag of reasons. One, I've had some family drama happening this week that has been very difficult to deal with for me and all my siblings and my parents. And both my dad and my brother both had kind of major surgeries this week that will have kind of some long-term effects on them, and they were both unrelated. My dad was somewhat expected. My brother was very unexpected, and so that happened. Those surgeries were on Monday and Wednesday, and simultaneously on Wednesday and Tuesday, should I say, there were some major shootings here in Seattle. The bigger one, the one that was trending nationally, there were multiple people shot on 3rd and Pine, and it really rocked the city a lot. It was very unexpected. There was a shooting involving a police officer just a few hours before and a shooting the day before. And so it was pretty intense. There were a lot of high emotions. And we get to Friday, and I had some spontaneous phone calls, which delayed me recording the podcast in the morning. And so the plan was to get home, and I was going to record it in the afternoon and evening. But emotionally, some of the subjects and the things that I've wanted to talk about here on the show really kept me, it kept having me procrastinate because I couldn't get my feelings right. I just wasn't sure about what I wanted to say and what I thought was right and what was appropriate. And the biggest issue with the show was I really don't want to talk about politics here. I feel like that's not really my place. It's not something I really get a lot of enjoyment out of. And right now, just the political scene is kind of wild. And I guess I'm more intimidated. I'm not well versed or educated enough to know what's going on in politics all the time to really speak up, and who am I to voice that here on the show. And there's so many political things that were brought up this week, especially around the shooting and everything that happened there. And so I was just trying to gather my thoughts, like what was the right thing to say, because there's no way that I can do a show and talk about this shooting and not get politically involved. And yeah, I think I was a mix of, I had the personal things going on with my family, and so there was some anger and some confusion there, and then to have a lot of people speaking out about the reasons what happened here in Seattle, it just had me very confused and unsure, and I had all these different feelings, and I wasn't ready to get on the mic and talk about it. And then, so the plan here now on Sunday was I went to the gym. I was like, I'll get back from the gym, make myself some coffee, and we'll get the show done. I have all the topics written down. I got my meal of the week, my featured business of the week. Let's get it going. And I'm walking out of the gym, and my text messages had just blown up. I wear a Fitbit when I work out, and usually I'm far enough away and my messages don't ring my Fitbit, but I get previews of text messages, and my phone or my watch vibrated the entire 45-minute workout. And I remember reaching out to the trainer. We were like halfway through, my phone would not blow up, and I could just see a preview, and all of the messages were like, this Kobe information can't be true, right? Like, please don't say it's real. And so, I mean, I think nowadays when someone starts a trend, unfortunately, you go towards death, because that's a lot of the reasons why those things unexpectedly happen. So I asked the trainer, I'm like, hey, like I haven't really looked at the news today, but did something happen with Kobe? And the trainer says, oh, LeBron passed him in scoring points for a career yesterday. And I was like, that's not why he's trending, right? I'm not getting. I would have gotten those text messages yesterday. Why am I getting them today? And so it's like 30 minutes later, I get out of the session, my phone's blowing up, and find out that Kobe Bryant passed away today in a helicopter crash. And so it's crazy to think about. It was just kind of like another thing to think about this week and what's been going on. And I've been delaying recording this show because I'm just like, man, I don't know what to talk about. This thing is on my mind, and there's lessons here to share. And so I found my Lakers jersey. I still have a number 8 Kobe Bryant jersey because I grew up in Los Angeles. Kobe Bryant is an idol and an icon to me. He was the athlete that I looked up to as a child, and I know that so many of the ways that I acted on a basketball court or in all sports were a lot modeling after his what they call Mamba mentality and how he attacked the game and excelled at sports in just a way that is very rarely seen because he was there to win. He was there to dominate and to assert himself. Everybody knew around him that he was the best and he was going to give it to you nonstop all day, the whole game, and never gave up. And there's just very few people in the world who constantly show that. And I looked up to that. I admire that. I still model myself and think about those things. It doesn't matter if I'm on, out playing pickup soccer or, playing rock, paper, scissors. So many of the things that I do in my competitive drive and wanting to be something great comes from looking up to Kobe Bryant when I was younger. And so, yeah, I have this Kobe Bryant number 8 jersey. It's the white jersey. I bought this like the week that they debuted their white jerseys. They used to only wear the white jerseys on home Sunday games, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And this jersey, I have a lot of jerseys, but I don't have a ton of jerseys from when I'm young. But this is one that I've always said I'm gonna keep for my entire life. And yeah, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. You're gonna be deeply missed. A memory I have about Kobe, I've got a few. I first connected with my now fiance Amanda because she said she was a Laker fan, right? We started working together, and obviously I'm a diehard Laker fan, grew up with the Lakers, went to championship parades, and yeah, she said she was a Laker fan, and I was like, ooh, I like you already. And she that was her learning of my ridiculous addiction to sports. But I remember it was my 27th birthday, April 13th, 2016, and it was Kobe Bryant's final game in the NBA. And Amanda and some of my friends are like, hey, like, it's your birthday. What are we going to do? Where do you want to go? Like, you want to have a party or go to dinner? And all I wanted to do on that day was watch Kobe Bryant's final basketball game. I remember celebrating that birthday just sitting on my couch. It was just have a few friends over. Let's, have a few drinks. Can't remember what we ate, but it was like, I just want to watch Kobe. I know we're never going to get to see him ever again on a basketball court. It will only be highlights and replays from here on out. I want to spend this day absorbing him live on TV one last time. And he went off for over 60 points. It was such an epic way for him to end his career. And I remember just thinking, like, this is so sweet that this happened to fall on my birthday. And, he does this incredible thing and he has this, one of his moments on my birthday. And I just thought that was so cool. And, yeah, it'll be a birthday I never forget because of how that all ended and how he ended his career. It was such a monumental way to go out. No one goes out like that. Scoring 60 points, like, that's absolutely crazy. But he just took over for one last time. And absolutely, absolutely insane. The guy just constantly, whenever he was on a basketball court, just was always striving to be great. And he had some incredible shots. I mean, when I was in college, I remember when they got Pau Gasol on the Lakers, and me and my friend Tyler, we were broke college students, and we found this Pizza Hut that had all these screens, and we were like the only people there, and all we cared about was watching the Laker game. And with him, I mean, I spent a lot of time with him. He's one of my best friends, and the Lakers have been something that we've shared so many arguments. I mean, I was in Europe in 2010 for a couple months, and countless countries and bars that we were in, and just it always comes back to Kobe, getting in an argument about like who's the greatest of all time, and is Kobe or Michael. And I think about how much time I've spent having that argument is it's just crazy. And I don't know the guy, but how much he impacted my life and impacted these millions of people is absolutely insane. If only I mean, if I make even 1% the impact that guy made on so many people, it would be a beautiful, very successful, special life to live. And so I'm already 11 minutes into the show, and that's all I can really think about. But I wanted to transition a little bit here into Seattle and the whole context of this show and everything that we're going through, because the more I've been thinking about why I didn't record the show on Friday and Saturday, and I'm here on Sunday, and it's just very interesting how the death of Kobe Bryant has made me kind of accept some of the anger and the confusion and the frustration that I had leading up to the week. And some of the reasons why I didn't record on Friday was because I didn't know how to handle those emotions. And then this all comes up, and it's given me like just a different perspective on all those other things that happened. And especially what happened here in Seattle, because I'm not going to get too deep into the personal life stuff, but let's talk about the shootings that happened here in the city and the impact they had, and some of my reflections, and I'll try to pull out for you some of the emotions that I was having earlier in the week and why I was so frustrated and so angry, and how I'm trying to grapple with the situation. So to give you some context about two of the shooters that happened on the Wednesday shooting, both of them were 24 years old. Up to this point, I don't believe they've caught these two suspects. There was a third suspect involved who was shot, who was arrested at the hospital. I believe it was 7 other people were also injured, including a 9-year-old child, 2 Amazon employees. And these two 24-year-olds combined have over 60 arrests, which is pretty crazy. It's just nuts to think about being arrested 60 times. That's a lot of getting in trouble, right? That's a lot of mischief. And by the time you're 24, that's a lot of times going to jail and a lot of times getting let go. And there's a lot of people up in arms about these two guys and how our criminal justice system, let's just say they think has let them get away with all these things and put them in a position to do the worst thing ever, is shoot their guns in a public place at each other, hit other people, and injure all these people. It is just absolutely, absolutely terrible. And I'll start this subject off with like, I don't have the answers. I don't know. I'm not a politician. When we had the city council election recently, I just knew it was an impossible task, because you're never going to satisfy everyone. And in 2020 political spectrum, everybody's angry all the time. There's like so few things that are happening where we as a society can come together and cheer people on and celebrate victories and say this was good for everybody. It just doesn't happen. And I don't know what needs to be done. I don't think anyone does. It's not a single solution, right? Yes, these kids are, who knows where they came from? I don't know their backstories. They probably have terrible happenings or things that happened to them in their childhood that put them in this position, that had to have them turn to crime and turn to gangs, and they probably didn't have a lot of role models in their life. That's not excusable for their actions whatsoever. Don't think that I'm excusing what they did is the worst of the worst. That's just unexcusable things for them to do. And I hope they get caught, and they deserve to go to jail for a long time. But what happens in jail, and this is probably one of the issues that I don't think has been talked about a lot, is like if these guys have been in jail multiple times, there's something wrong with our jail system that's not helping these people rehabilitate. And that's a big problem in our country, is that the prison system is not there to help. It's not there to take troubled individuals who commit crimes and help them get better, right? Or figure out, maybe there's something deeper, especially emotional issues, and let's find out where those stem from and try to address those and try to, in their time served, make them better people. That's not what's going on. They're there. People are making money off these systems from all levels of the crime involved, from the people committing the crimes in those groups to the people prosecuting them and keeping them in jail. And the system is really messed up because people make money by people going to jail, and people continue to make money by people going back to jail. And that's just not the right system. But there's so many other issues, right? People are getting mad at the Seattle PD for like not being there. And it's like, police officers can't be everywhere. There was a police officer involved in a shooting just hours before, a couple blocks away. Multiple shootings don't happen in Seattle very often. So they were working on something, right? There was an active case that I'm sure had a lot of attention between having two shootings happen right there in downtown. This shooting happens in a moment. If there happened to not be a police officer nearby, I don't know if a police officer would have been able to do anything, right? Like, it was mayhem. When people shoot, it was right in the middle of the beginning of rush hour. Hundreds, if not thousands of people going all over the place, cars, buses. It's a tough situation. And, people getting mad at Seattle PD, and I think they were probably distracted, and there was a lot going on. It's tough to point fingers at them. There were other fingers being pointed that night too that made me frustrated, right? This tweet went viral, and it was either Uber or Lyft, right? And it was there was multiple ones, $100 to $300 for people to get home from downtown Seattle. And people are getting mad at Lyft and Uber for taking advantage of a shooter situation. And I was just mad on that take because, and this is going to go down kind of a rabbit hole of where we currently are, where I think we are in 2020, is people immediately just get mad at Uber and Lyft, thinking that there's some person sitting at a computer watching trending topics and being like, oh, let's double those prices in Seattle right now. Because that's not what it is. It's an algorithm, right? Like, our city was struggling to react to the situations. Uber and Lyft, especially in a country now, we have a mass shooting every day, right? They're not sitting there pushing a button to change the prices. It's all based off an algorithm. And what happened was there was a shooting, really scary situation, especially happening related to Amazon, in front of Amazon building. So that put all Amazon on alert because they were sending out emails every couple of minutes about it. So I bet 10,000 plus people all logged on to their car sharing apps and were trying to get a ride home. And so the algorithm just naturally goes, whoa, look at this high demand. We need to raise prices because we don't have the supply to take care of all these people. And it's going to take Uber or Lyft a little while to run that up the flagpole and figure out, how are we going to deal with this situation, and where are they going to go, and how can, we make it better. And so, I was down in Columbia City, and I looked at the app, and it was $20 for me to go to Columbia City all the way to the Space Needle. And it was just interesting that it didn't affect me that much further away. But you also got to think about the drivers, right? If I'm a driver of Uber or Lyft, you don't necessarily want to be taking your car into an active shooter situation. You don't know, like the shooters could have called the Lyft, right? Like you just don't know who you're picking up. And so to that quickly, just all these tweets coming out saying shame on you, Uber, like for raising these prices, is just very myopic in my opinion. But it was such a symbol, and this was one of the things that got me frustrated in the first place and why I couldn't start the show was a, a big issue that I have right now here in America is, and this is a lot dealing with social media and how quickly we get information with our cell phones now, but we as humans are so quick to judge. We're so fast to have to point fingers at people and to find someone or something to blame before we have any of the information available to us to actually decide, right? And in a world of fake news and the political spectrum where everybody's fighting with each other, we've got to figure out a system to take a step back from every piece of information that we get and remember that it takes a little bit of time to process these emotional things. We're so quick to send out tweets and post on social media blaming other people. And it's driving me crazy. I think it's driving a lot of people crazy because our bodies are humans, we're not developed to handle this information. I mean, in my previous episode, I talked about being addicted to our phones, and that was what happened this generation. And it's very clear that our brains are not accustomed to having this much information, having to process it so fast, and it changing constantly. We're such emotional creatures that, yeah, it's just very easy to go down the rabbit hole, especially when we don't even have the information, right? The shooting happened, and everyone's like, it's a homeless problem. It's a gun problem. It's the police problem. Look at Uber. You guys suck too, right? And it was just like blame, blame, blame. And we didn't even have any of the information because based off the little facts that we have, it was a situation between two individuals who are most likely gang related, who both had weapons on them in a dangerous part of the city where lots of crime happens right there on 3rd and Pine. I've caught hundreds of buses right there in front of the McDonald's. I catch the D and the E all the time right there. And it's a sketchy place, right? And I see cops there all the time, honestly. But cops they just can't be there 24/7. There's too much city that they need to cover, and there's always things going on. And two individuals made a decision, for whatever reason, to shoot each other. And I'm not sure that a lot of these political issues, right, with homelessness or you just can't draw those conclusions right away before. I wouldn't be surprised. I would imagine drugs were involved. And the drug epidemic, which is not a Seattle problem, it's a United States problem, and which have deeper roots than homelessness or the economy. This goes down to pharmaceutical companies and painkillers and the war on drugs and drug distribution and how we're punishing or not punishing. There's so many factors on why this happens. Even if there was more strict gun laws, these kids could have easily gotten their hands on the guns that are already out there, right? There's so many factors we just don't know, but we're so quick to blame. And it takes us so long, if ever, to ever accept responsibility for our problems. And that's so frustrating. And it's going to be interesting to see as a society how we learn to deal with these things. Because with this election coming up in November, even on both sides, we're so quick to cancel somebody or to kick them out of the party because of something they said years ago or something even that they did. And I feel like America used to be really known as forgiving and meaning to give people second chances. And it's going to be interesting to see how we draw those new lines of who deserves a second chance and who doesn't, because we see people getting second chances who might not deserve them. And we see people who sometimes are getting canceled who didn't actually even do it, but a rumor spreads and we cancel them immediately, and it brings them down, right? And when I'm not even only talking about celebrities, I'm talking about normal people who have viral moments on Twitter or TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, and the full story's not out. It's either a little clip that, we get 1 minute and no context to what's going on, and these people's private information gets released, right? Where people live, they get death threats, they get just destroyed on the internet with comments and DMs, and there's just no empathy at all for people. And it's really sad. It's really sad. And the unfortunate thing, which has been driving me crazy, is this happens on both sides of the political spectrum. I think the hardest thing for me to accept as being pretty liberal is starting to feel that, yes, the conservative Republican Party gets a lot of blame for ignorance, being bigoted, a lot of generalizations coming around who those people are. And the thing is, and the Democratic Party are people that are very liberal, including myself, kind of prop themselves up as the good guys in this situation, right? We're the ones standing up, but we're also the ones canceling people and being very judgmental very early on, right? We have all these candidates right now, and all we're doing is fighting and trying to trash the other people, so that when we get down to one, there's so much negativity out about that person that person almost doesn't even stand a chance because of the infighting and the inability for all of us to come together and understand that we're just not all perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? Nobody has all the answers. Nobody is free of skeletons in their closet, from mean things they said when they were teenagers, bad things they might have done as adults, and they possibly could have learned from those things, right? We have faults, all of us. And to be be talking so negatively about so many people like we're all perfect is just really hard. And I see all the trolling, especially that happens on Twitter, and I just wonder how many bad things all of these people also have that would just get destroyed if that information came out. And so, to end the show, we just need to have more empathy. We can't react so quickly to all the news that's coming out. There is so much good in the world, and it's not being amplified. All the negativity is what gets amplified. We need to show more love, be better towards each other, be helpful, be nice. We need to lift up the people who are doing amazing things and beautiful things and helping people and going out of their way to do good. We need to make sure those people are heard more than anyone else. And so I'm getting here down at the 30-minute mark, so I've got to wrap up the show. Thank you for listening to all this. Next week, I will get back to my meal of the week and the business of the week. I also want to talk about, we're going to be voting here in King County on our cell phones, which is kind of crazy. And I love you guys. Here in the last minute, I just want to tell you, if you have some beef out there with a friend or a family member and you have the opportunity to figure out and make it right, people leave this world so quickly. And living with regret for your entire life because you didn't take the opportunity to say something to create some healing in your life, you don't want that. Tell people you love them. Forgive people. Understand where they come from, and show them some love and some patience. I love you. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'll be back with more positivity for episode 11.